And what's the hashtag
Come on, man.
LTMP,
Loyal to
my pocket. I
That's-
like that.
That's what you gotta do.
Loyal to my pocket, that's all.
Loyal to your pocket.
Hi guys, you see the smiles on my face. I'm so excited to be here today. I know many of you have asked me to interview a travel nurse. I know you clicked on this video because of a title, and I'm so happy to have a very good friend here. He's a travel nurse and he's willing to share his journey as a traveler. My name is Priscilla Kuma. I'm a registered nurse, originally from Ghana, and then migrated to USA where I work as a registered nurse. I'm based in New York State. So this traveler has a lot of experience in so many fields of nursing. He has a unique story and he's currently traveling at my job. And I was like, no, we got to do this now. So yeah, if you are a registered nurse, midwife, or psychiatry nurse who wants to work in USA and don't know how to go about it, come find us at USRN Pathway Consult.com. That is our website. Register on there, and then we would start your onboarding process. Kindly watch this video. Share the video with others. If you are interested in working as a travel nurse when you get to America, or you are already in America and want to start as a travel nurse, he has all the information for you. Stay locked on. Watch to the end. Okay, Malik, welcome to my YouTube channel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. So please introduce yourself to my viewers. They've been dying to talk to a travel nurse, and I'm glad to have you here today. What's your name?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Marlick Krubally. I'm originally from the Gambia, West Africa. So the same coast, we're not very far from Ghana. And, it's always exciting to meet a fellow West African, especially here in the United States. And I'm a registered nurse. I've started my nursing career in the Gambia, West Africa, and I'm currently practicing in the United States as a travel nurse.
Good. So you heard him. He comes from the Gambia and he's been in America for some years, and he is a traveler. He has so much experience in the nursing field. He's worked in trauma, he's worked in IR, name it, and he's worked in. So Malik, I'm so happy to have you on here. My viewers always ask me about how to become a travel nurse in America. You've been traveling for some years now. How many years have you been a traveler?
Well, I would say that my entire time in the United States, I've pretty much been a traveler since I traveled from the Gambia to the United States and then became a nurse. I was doing local contracts in Washington State, where I first started my travel nursing journey, and then so altogether, it's almost a decade now.
Wow. So you mentioned in your introduction that you began your nursing career in the Gambia. Can you talk a little bit about that? You went to nursing school in Gambia?
Yes, after finishing my high school education in the Gambia, sometime around 2003, I went to the Gambia College, School of Nursing and Midwifery, and I did 3 years SRN program. We call it a state registered nursing program, and I finished in 2005 and worked in the Gambia a little bit as a registered nurse. Then I came over to the United States and further my education. Then I challenged the NCLEX board in the United States to become a registered nurse here as well.
Okay, so when you came to the USA, you came here to study, you did not come here to work as a nurse?
I initially came here because my family was like, you're doing so well in the Gambia, and we wanted to support you if you want to further your education to do your master's in the United States. So I initially came here to go to school, but then I never knew that as a registered nurse, my education in Africa was going to be useful here. Honestly, I was told that, once you come to the US, all your education that you did in Africa is just trash. It's like the US is not going to recognize it. This is the perception we had. So I went straight to college. So my family took me to college to start over. While I was in college, I spoke to some of my mentors, and I found out that most of the students there were trying to become registered nurses. So my mentors find out that, looking at my grades, they were impressed, and they started to question me as to why I was doing well. And I told them that I did some education in Africa. So after they went over my resume and find out that I've had some nursing education there, then my mentors told me that, you can just go through World Education Service and have your, credentials evaluated to the United States standards. And that's exactly what I did. So I was able to challenge the NCLEX board and have my English as second language exams. So once I challenged the NCLEX board, I passed the RN, registered nursing, and I've got license with California Board of Nursing. And after that, I continued my bachelor's program, and after that, everything just became so easy because my education was transferred over here. It was more of a continuation of my education, instead of starting over.
Wow. So he was also a victim to what happened to many of you watching. We did not know that we can transfer our education in Africa to be able to work here. And most people had to go back to nursing school and start from scratch. Luckily, he found out midway, so he didn't have to do the whole nursing education in USA all over again. So I'm glad you found that. So your original license, your very first license was given to you by the State Board of California, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then I believe you lived there and worked there for a while before you started traveling?
Yes, I first was licensed to practice in California State Board of Nursing, and then I traveled to Washington State. So I did not practice in California at that time. I first went to Washington State, Seattle, Washington, where I had a friend and, had some good things about Seattle. So I was like, I just wanted to travel. So I applied for an endorsement because in the United States, once you are registered with one state, you can apply for endorsement by licensure to other states, and they just have their process that you go through. Then you will be able to have license to practice in that state once you are endorsed. So that's what I did with Washington State and Seattle, Washington. Then I started practicing there, and then there I was taking local contracts and I was working in different hospitals. I've started all the way from ambulatory care to long-term care, home health care, you name it, and clinics and up to hospital levels. So I worked in Washington State for a while, and after I got tired of the Seattle weather, I just chose to go to California. Then as a nurse, this is the advantage you get. You have that flexibility to be able to work, especially if you're just an experienced nurse with confidence. You can easily go across the board, find yourself in any hospital setting. As an African, you have to prove yourself right. It's not always easy, but if you believe yourself, you can face any challenges. So I found myself in California, in San Diego. I picked up a contract there during COVID, and I did that for a while, before moving up to New York State. And in San Diego, I was actually interviewed by San Diego Business Journal for their article that was named as the travel nurses helping with critical nursing and demand, hospital demand. So as a traveler, I was in California and I practiced there because I was already licensed in California. And during COVID, it was also easier because most of the states would let you practice before your license is even endorsed once you are licensed in another state. So that is the beauty of the United States of America. You can be recognized by one state, and it's easier to just move on to the next one.
Wow. So you guys, you've heard it all. I am talking to a big celebrity. He's from the Gambia, but you can look him up online. He says, Google me. His name is Marlick Krubally. He's in so many publications. He's been interviewed and he's doing great in his field. This is somebody Africa should be proud of. You need confidence to be able to work here. And as soon as you find that confidence, boom, 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 you can work in any certain, but you have to put in the work. You have to prove yourself. Yes. So he mentioned license endorsement. I shared a video recently about how to do license endorsement. So most people are watching, they want to become travelers. For somebody who did not school here, when you come into the country, do you advise they go directly to travel or to stay at one place, get some experience before they travel?
I think it's important that you kind of build your experience. The working environment is quite different from Africa, and it's very, very important to kind of build up your competency with a specific hospital as a staff nurse. So I would advise that you get your foot in the door in one of the major hospitals in an area that you're probably interested in. It's always important to practice once you get licensed in the United States. You don't have to hold yourself back, but first of all, get your foot into the door, get into a hospital, hopefully the specialty that you like, and then you get some experience as a staff registered nurse. When you are a staff nurse, you get more support by the hospital. You are covered by the hospital. But as a traveler, you are usually working at your own risk. So you want to make sure that you develop that competency and confidence in your specialty area, in whichever hospital where you start from. and after a few years of experience, you could give yourself, depending on your own ability, to learn faster and how comfortable you are with your skills. It could take you between 2 to 5 years before you're able to build that confidence to start looking for a travel nursing experience.
You heard him. It can take you between 2 to 5 years, and I always advise this on the channel. So yeah, somebody wants to become a travel nurse. They've gathered that 2 to 5 years experience. What is the first step? What do they have to do?
First, you have to decide where you want to go. If, let's say, you are a specialty in med-surg or intensive care nursing, so you have to decide on what state you want to go to travel. But I would say there are certain websites on either Facebook, and you would hear from your colleagues. It's always nice to be referred. It's always nice to speak to other travelers, hear their experiences, and understand, what you're getting into. So once you take those 4 steps and you understand, you can try to speak to different agencies. There's usually a bunch of them here in the United States. You could be referred. Usually as a traveler, if I refer you to my agency, then I might get some bonus out of that. But what's important is the agency takes you more seriously and it helps you to get a job. So you speak to other travelers and then try to locate and speak to agencies. Then you submit your documents to those agencies, and they will do all the job for you. They will look for the job for you, and they'll submit you to the different hospitals that you want, and they will show you the contracts as well. Once you're happy with it, you both agree, there you are. You'll be on the road in no time.
Okay, so what are the basic requirements, like years experience? Like, do they want bedside? Do they want like 1 year experience?
It depends on the specialty. Most specialties would require at least 1 to 2 years experience in that specialty. Let's say if you want to do med-surg and you've had at least, I said minimum 2 years experience, just for you to be comfortable, right? Because if you're a traveler and you go to work, you don't get the chance to be oriented, you don't get the chance to be trained. Once they see that you're not doing well and you can't pick it up pretty quick, that may lead to cancellations. So you want to make sure that you have a good experience. Let's say you have 2 to 5 years experience in med-surg. Those are some of the requirements, because once the agencies look for the jobs, they would put the requirement of the job there. So they will tell you whichever travel nursing job that you're looking for, how many years of experience is required for that job. And they would have you submit your resume. So the hospitals will look at your resume and decide if they want to hire you or somebody else. So the better your resume looks, the more opportunities you have. And one thing I have to mention here, since we're talking to African nurses as well, sometimes we tend to underestimate or omit our African experience. Always include that in your resume, because your experience in the United States is pretty current, and it may be for a very short period of time. Do not underestimate the experience you have, the education that you have, some of the achievements you've made, responsibilities you have taken while in Africa. Philanthropic work, volunteerism, include it in your resume. The better your resume, the better your chance of landing a great travel nursing gig.
Okay, so you've been traveling for some time. What are some of the advantages of being a traveler? Flexibility, the money. Tell me all about it.
Well, everybody talks about the money.
I said money, and he's smiling, so you can just tell.
Everybody talks about the money. There is a saying in travel nursing. We say that you're only loyal to your pocket.
LT.
You gotta be
MP, loyal to my pocket. That's the hashtag.
You gotta be loyal to your pocket. A brother coming from a long way, you gotta make sure that you're getting that money. Advantages of traveling. And then everybody talks about the money, and obviously, like I said, in travel nursing, there's always a saying that you gotta be loyal to your pocket. Like I said, travel nurses usually get allowances. In the United States, if you are traveling and practicing from your home state, you get tax breaks for allowances such as housing allowance, feeding allowance, transportation allowance. This is how travel nurses make their money. Now, the better you manage those allowances, the better it is for you to keep money in your pocket. Because most of us have home states where we pay rent or we might have houses from another state where we're paying mortgage, and then you travel to a new state where you have to rent a house there. So most of the time you're paying 2 rents. So the responsibilities are, could be enormous. And because you have those financial responsibilities, you need to manage yourself very well to be able to save some money. So, but the advantage is that you get the opportunity to travel around the country, to see different places, to see new places. I chose to come to New York State, where I'm working right now is right on the border. That's because my brother, who lives in New York City, is just 5 hours away. And my sister, whom I miss with her family, she's in Toronto, Canada. She's just 3 hours, less than 3 hours away. Last weekend, matter of fact, I took a road trip all the way to Toronto, Ontario to go see my sister. So it was just amazing, So only travel nursing can give you that opportunity. You can get close to your family, you can see new places. But also travel nursing is like a contract, where you get to manage your own time and you have the freedom to terminate the contract anytime you want. So you are not controlled by hospital policies where they decide on this is the time you have to take time off, this is the time you have to work. So you manage your own time. You can decide to take off. Like last month in December, I took 2 months off. I couldn't have been able to do that if I was a staff nurse. So I took 2 months off, went to Gambia, West Africa, and I spent a couple of months, had a good time, enjoyed the beautiful beaches in the Gambia. And then when I was ready to work, I just called the agencies and told them, hey, I'm ready to come back. You better get me a job, and this is where I want to work. So you can decide on where you want to work, especially if you have the experience and you have the profile. Those are just some of the few benefits of travel nursing, and a lot more that you'll find out probably once you start it.
Yes. So what are the disadvantages? You mentioned that the bills can be enormous because you're having 2 houses, 2 renting double cars and stuff. What else is the downside of it?
The downside of travel nursing is the fact that you have to manage yourself. Like most staff nurses get good insurance where they don't pay much money for their own insurances. And then
you mean health insurance?
Yeah, health insurance. So you have to pay for your own health insurance. Some of the companies, the travel nursing companies, don't give you the best health insurance. I tell you that's one of the challenges I have. If you move to a new state, you have to struggle to find a place to stay. You might not like it there. And if you go to a new hospital, it doesn't mean that you're just gonna fit in. That's a challenge. So for some people who have family, you may have to leave your family behind. You may have to be away from your family. In that instance, then that would be tough to be able to, because you can't be traveling with your family. Those are just some of the disadvantages that we have. The most biggest problem that we have usually is finding a place to stay when you go to a new place. I've talked about that before. With San Diego Business Journal, when we move to a new place, usually sometimes you're just living in a room, in somebody's house, or you have to rent a hotel, stay in a hotel. So that can come with its own challenges.
So now many people are interested in traveling because of the biggest benefits we all know. Travel nursing. Every nurse says, Priscilla, what you earn is not what you earn. You're lying to us. People make this money. And I said, the money you see on the internet, that is the salary of a travel nurse. So what is the range? I know the COVID prices were higher. It's dropped down a little bit. But what is the minimum? I know it's per agency, it's per state, location, and so many factors come into what someone is paid. But the lowest payment you received as a travel nurse, what was it? And what's the highest? Give us the range.
It depends on, travel nurses, their pay hourly is not necessarily their hourly pay.
Okay.
It's including your allowances. Like I said, when they tell a travel nurse, we're going to pay you $2,500 a week, that $2,500, sometimes only $500 is actually work allowance pay that's indicated as taxable income.
Okay.
So the other $1,000 would go towards your housing. Housing pay, and maybe $500 goes towards your feeding. So at the end of the day, when they put and maybe another $250 or $500 goes to transportation. So now if you put all that money together and then you divide it into hourly for the week, then you get your weekly wages. Now the weekly gross wages can go between $2,500 up to $6,000. Now if you're making that amount, then once it's taxed, then you will end up with maybe less, because you get taxed less, so you might keep more money in your pocket, which is called a net pay. So most travel nurses, depending on the area that you work, like if you're working in ICU, you could be making anything between $4,000 to $5,000 for your net pay that you take home.
That's weekly?
That is post COVID, and that could be your weekly. And then depending on the department, there's always a range between $2,500 up to $6,000. Some depending on the hospital's demand, and you could be traveling, and all of a sudden there is a different contract. So if you look at the travel nursing contract, some hospitals have demands. Sometimes the hospital's demand is so high that the pay could be high depending on the responsibility. As an interventional radiology nurse, I work in interventional radiology. That is my specialty. I do work in other areas as well, but right now my traveling experience is based on interventional radiology. So as an IR nurse, I do all of it, any type of IR, whether it's diagnostic radiology, whether it's neurology, whether it is vascular or body, I do all cases. So sometimes you can be charged as well, like being in charge. So if you do those kind of roles, then you make extra money. And if you get more hours, if you're good enough, they give you more hours. And the more hours you get, the more money you make. So sometimes they pay you overtime, which can all influence how much you end up making.
Yeah.
At the end of the week. But it's usually weekly wages, and it's not necessarily when they say we're paying you $2,500. They're telling you that part of that is going towards your feeding, and part of it is going towards your housing.
Okay. So I always say that one person's salary, you might be working at the same place, but you are earning differently from what your coworker is earning, because there are so many factors that affect salary. We can only give you ranges, we cannot give you specifics. So the travel nursing, I'm told we have two types, like where somebody can do local travel nursing. I can live here and then go maybe to the next hospital 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes away, or I can just pick up my bag, leave New York State and go to another state. So I'm told there's local travel, and do you want to clarify that for me, please?
Yes, it's all based on laws. The United States is a country of laws. So if you are traveling more than 50 miles, then it is considered, you're considered a traveler. So if you're going more than 50 miles from your home state, from your home address, then you are qualified for benefits, for allowances. So they give you these housing allowances, because you cannot be traveling every day 50 miles to go to work. So you will have to rent a place there or stay in a hotel to be able to go to work. So the government will give you tax breaks for those allowances. This qualifies you as a traveler. So the minimum is 50 miles. But if you are less than 50 miles, then you are, referred to as a local contract. Now, local contract, you get paid money, but all the money that you receive is taxed. If that makes sense. So you could make the same amount of money, but it's all taxed. That means you won't take home as much as the traveler would take home. Travelers get, a lot of tax breaks, and that's what helps them to keep most of the money that they're making.
Oh, so a local traveler, you tax more than somebody who travels more
Yes.
than 50 miles?
Yes. So if you do local traveling, you might also make more money than a staff nurse. Because the staff nurse gets all these deductions and all that stuff. So, the hospital is giving you a package, and you're working on the hospital and they're covering you. So, but as a local, if you take a local contract, you're still working for the same agencies, but you are 50 miles, you're below 50 miles. So you're actually, getting taxed a little more than a traveler. Travelers get benefits, tax breaks, and that's what they have to prove.
Okay. So lastly, before I let you go, any advice to people who want to travel, especially our African brothers and sisters who want to travel and they are not too sure if they want to do this? Any word for anybody who wants to go into travel?
I would say do it. One thing about life is,
Priscilla, they say you should travel. They don't know why I'm not traveling.
Whatever you want to do in life, just ask yourself, is this what I really wanted to do? What you're going to regret in life is what you did not do, but you will not regret what you did if it's good. What's important is to ask, is it good? Is it legal? Once it's legal and law abiding, and it's your ambition and vision, I would say go for it. Be adventurous, go out there, do what you want to do. Don't be scared. Don't have anything to stop you from doing what your heart really desires. What's important is if you have a family, it's important to attend to your family, and it's going to be harder to travel. I've seen travelers who travel with their family. They go with their families to the different locations that they travel. So it's up to you. Every individual has their own situation, but if traveling is something that you wanted, everybody has a goal when they go into traveling, what we call an exit plan. You really don't want to do it forever. You don't want to do it for the long run. Most people just wanted to do traveling. When I went into traveling, I was like, I'm just going to do this for a couple of years, a couple more years, and then I'm done. So at some point you're gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna settle down at one place. I'm gonna stop traveling, because it's not easy to just be on the road. But if it's something that you wanna try, just go in for it. You won't regret it.
Yeah. So you guys, watch out for this man. This is gonna be a great person. He's so smart, he's so full of wisdom. As I said, you can Google his name, Marlick Krubally, and I cannot wait to bring him back on the channel. I know you have a lot of questions, and I know we are all attracted to good things. For me, the flexibility, the ability to take some time off for yourself and go to Africa for like 2-3 months, that is the icing on top of it all. And when the time is right, I will also join the travel gang. And what's the hashtag again?
Come on, man.
LTMP,
Loyal
to my pocket. I
That's-
like that.
That's what you gotta do.
Loyal to my pocket, that's all.
Loyal to your pocket.
Yeah, we need money to pay bills. Money makes the world go round, and you know I love good things. Until then, I will bring another video. Thanks for watching. Share this video with others, subscribe, and don't give up on your dreams. Don't let anybody discourage you. Whatever you want to do, set your mind to it, and it's achievable. I'm proud to be sitting down with you, and in 10-15 years I'll be proud that once upon a time I met this person, and he's gonna be great. You can just tell. So thank you, and bye bye.
Thank you very much.